The Power of a Teacher. We are on Chapter 7, titled Physical Well-Being. I couldn't sleep last night. I could tell it was going to be an iced peppermint white mocha with an extra shot of espresso kind of day. I know, not exactly health food, but I'm finally willing to admit I've lost the battle with my weight. I'm tired of the diet roller coaster routine. By 1:30 p.m., I had my usual energy crash. You know the feeling? Like when you get to the point where you're present physically, but you have absolutely no mental or emotional energy to give. I call it zombie mode. The teacher who is not experiencing physical well-being is most at risk for experiencing stress in 4 other life areas: occupational, emotional, financial, and spiritual. Since nutrition and sleep are our most basic life activities, if I am that teacher, I am locked in the negative feedback loop of feeling continually run down, which in turn makes me increasingly less effective, which in turn makes me have to work harder to try to keep up, which in turn makes me feel continually run down, which, well, you get it. Are you that teacher? If so, your hope lies in the reality that you have the power to develop, over time, eating habits that will dramatically improve how you feel and function. You also have the power to invest 20 minutes of your day into physical activities and sleep routines that will restore your energy levels and support each of the other areas of well-being that we've covered. What is physical well-being? If spiritual well-being is the hardest to define, physical well-being should be the simplest. After all, we generally can measure our physical wellness in quantifiable terms. Unfortunately, we are also bombarded by 1001 theories on what really constitutes physical health. Since our focus is on wellness, we will take the broad view I alluded to in Chapter 2. American psychiatrist M. Scott Peck has defined physical well-being not as the absence of disease, but as the body's ability to fight disease. The implication: our bodies can be free of disease, but we can still be unhealthy. In fact, an estimated 65.2% of U.S. adults are overweight or obese, defined by having a body mass index of 25 or more. 30% of adults have hypertension, which tends to be a silent killer because it often goes undetected and untreated. High cholesterol is a leading contributor to heart disease, and each year more than 500,000 Americans die of heart disease. Often these devastating diseases are preceded and caused by years of unhealthy physical conditions neglected because of the lack of obvious illness. Physical well-being, the keys. Key number 1, practice healthy nutrition. I initially titled this section Diet, but I decided to change it after some research on the term. Just look at the first 3 letters. No, what we're after here is not the idea of food restriction to lose weight, but food intake to promote health. Consider the following from the U.S. Health Policy Gateway website. Nutrition is defined as the act or process of nourishing. The primary source of nutrition is food. The relationship that one has with food, whether in relation to quantity, quality, or other factors, affects greatly one's nutrition and health status. Did you catch the word relationship? Relationship. Wait, isn't a relationship supposed to be what occurs between 2 people who experience ongoing mutual emotional and intellectual interaction? Powerful insight here. We interact with food in some of the same ways we interact with people. For example, my rational mind tells me to interact with people in a way that communicates dignity and respect, the dietary equivalent of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and proteins. But in my irrational moments, I interact with people in a way that prioritizes my feelings and desires at the expense of their well-being, the dietary equivalent of my beloved Hawaiian pizza and beer. If we're going to nourish ourselves in a healthy or rational way, fruits and vegetables should constitute the majority of our intake, followed by healthy sources of fat, unsaturated as in avocados, nuts, and olive oil, and healthy proteins. Processed foods and foods with high levels of sugars and carbohydrates should be avoided. Please refer to Resource 2 at the back of the book for more detailed information about which foods fall into which categories. The resource was created from the guidelines for healthy nutrition at the government website www.choosemyplate.gov. Remember, what's rational does not always immediately feel good or natural. Like most steps toward well-being, nourishing ourselves well may require that we make some difficult choices. It may even mean giving up eating habits we have used to medicate and cope with stress. The key is to remember that the long-term payoff is real and significant. Good nutrition accounts for approximately 80% of our overall physical well-being. Whatever it costs us in immediate gratification, eating well is a true difference maker in personal wellness. Key number 2, exercise regularly. Maybe you loved PE when you were a kid because you thought you had a body that could tolerate PE. But now the years have caught up and you're pretty sure you won't be earning any presidential physical fitness patches this year. Erase from your mind the pictures of grueling workouts or embarrassing fitness tests. My purpose here is simply to point you toward a reasonable understanding of healthy physical activity. There are 3 main areas of physical exercise: cardio, strength, and flexibility. Cardio, short for cardiovascular, which refers to the heart. Cardiovascular exercise raises your heart rate and keeps it elevated for a period of time. Cardio also is referred to as aerobic exercise. Examples include biking, stationary or outdoors, walking or running on a treadmill or outdoors, aerobics and machine work such as stair-stepper, elliptical, or rowing machines. Strength and resistance. We usually think of weight training when we think about building strength, but strength training can be much broader. Any exercise that focuses resistance on muscular contraction falls in this category. In addition to weight training, strength training can be achieved using resistance bands or through body motions. For example, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, etc. The benefits of strength training include protecting bone health, increasing balance in body mechanisms, and burning calories to keep it from being stored as fat. Flexibility. This generally refers to range of motion around a joint and its surrounding muscle during its movement. Without targeted flexibility training, our bodies and minds default to rigidity as we age. Decreased flexibility means decreased range of motion, which means that our muscles will not be able to do all the good things they're supposed to do. Practicing an exercise program that incorporates cardio, strength, and flexibility training is ideal. Key number 3, sleep enough and sleep well. You've probably heard the statistic before, but most of us need 8 hours of sleep each night. Some can get by on 6, some need 10. Many people struggle to sleep enough or well enough to support optimum health. One of the most overlooked factors contributing to poor sleep is bedtime routine. Doctors who specialize in treating sleep disorders refer to this as our sleep hygiene, and consider it one of the most critical factors in making sure we get enough sleep. 2 essential components of sleep hygiene are habits and environment. Habits. Have a fixed time to go to bed and wake up. Be consistent. Avoid napping, especially late in the day. Avoid alcohol, caffeine, and heavy, spicy, sugary foods 4 to 6 hours before sleep. Do not exercise right before bed. Have a pre-sleep routine. For example, take a bath, read for 15 minutes in your favorite chair, enter the bed in your favorite sleeping position. Environment. Use comfortable bedding, including mattress, sheets, and blankets. Maintain a comfortable room temperature. Block out visual and auditory interference, for example, light, noise, etc. Take the TV out of the bedroom. If you are using the TV to fall asleep, replace the routine with relaxation techniques such as breathing exercises or guided relaxation. Conclusion. As you note from the excerpt at the beginning of the chapter, Jennifer is having difficulty maintaining physical well-being. She is offsetting sleep difficulties with excessive caffeine, which exacerbates her trouble sleeping. She's not exercising regularly or eating healthy, and both have contributed to her weight gain. The net result is that her performance at work is compromised and she enters what she calls zombie mode. In my original draft of the book, this was the first area of wellness to be addressed. After reviewing the manuscript, I decided to move it to the end in hopes that I wouldn't lose half of my readers in Chapter 2 as yet another expert urges them to eat better, exercise, and sleep more. I know these changes often feel like the steepest of uphill climbs to many who have tried and failed to improve their physical condition. I can relate. It has taken me years to settle into healthy patterns of nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Let me simply offer two encouragements. The first is that I simply cannot overstate the difference making those changes has made in how I feel. I do not have a back-end deal to try to sell you a particular diet program or exercise video, so my enthusiasm is pure. Eating well, exercising, and sleeping better sincerely have changed my life dramatically. If I could have somehow experienced a sneak preview to the differences, I truly believe I would have made the changes much sooner. Finally, start simple. Focus on what you can change, even if those initial changes are small. Change one eating habit in a meaningful way. Go for a walk 3 times a week and stretch before and after you walk. Stop watching TV earlier in the evening and create a short, consistent bedtime routine. Most people never make the changes necessary for physical wellness because it seems to be overwhelming to change everything at once. Guess what? You don't have to change everything at once. Make one small change in each area a week for 3 months. Physical well-being is a marathon, not a sprint. Pace yourself and believe that your health is worth a few sacrifices each week, because it is. Summary. Physical well-being is not the absence of illness, but the body's ability to effectively fight illness. Healthy nutrition consists of primarily fruits and vegetables, followed by healthy sources of fat and healthy proteins. An ideal exercise program incorporates cardio, flexibility, and strength training. Sleeping well and enough often requires making intentional choices about your sleep routine. Physical well-being in action. Do purchase a gym membership or a workout DVD. Do find an exercise partner and help each other stick with it. Do consult with a nutritionist to create a daily nutrition plan. You don't always have to change absolutely everything you eat. Find a plan that will help you take reasonable steps toward eating better. Do practice effective sleep hygiene. Do schedule a doctor's appointment for a well-visit checkup. Do watch the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which is at www.fatsickandnearlydead.com. Don't be discouraged by past attempts that have fallen short. Most people fail to eat well or exercise because they've failed to eat well or exercise for so many years. The thousands of people overcome that. Be one of those people. Don't believe that it's too late for you to change. It's not. Don't be intimidated by your friends who look like models or are workout freaks. Your goal is to be healthy, not measure up to anyone else. Don't eat lots of donuts. Mrs. Martinez' power to change Maria Benavidez's life. Mrs. Martinez changed my future with a single question. Maria, have you finished your FAFSA? I had no idea what Mrs. Martinez was talking about. What is a FAFSA and why would I finish one? My what? I asked emphatically. Your financial aid form, she said. Have you finished it? Financial aid form? Why would Miss Martinez be asking me about a financial aid form? No, ma'am, I haven't, I responded, still not sure what she was getting at. Okay, she said, come by after school today and we'll work on it. Mrs. Martinez was my government teacher my senior year in high school, and she was amazing. In 1978, she was the only Latina teacher in our entire high school, and I had such respect for her. I think everyone did, honestly. She carried herself with an air of confidence, yet she was always approachable and easy to talk to. That conversation was first period, and I spent the rest of the day completely clueless about why Miss Martinez would ask me about a financial aid form. Yet, after school that day, I stopped by her classroom. College, she said. That moment in her classroom was the first time I ever even thought or talked with anyone about attending college. It was not that I made bad grades. School usually came pretty easy for me. It was just that I always assumed I would go from part-time to full-time at my job at the print shop when I graduated from high school. Neither of my parents attended college, and the topic of college never came up at home. Even if I had thought about college, I knew there was no way my family could afford it. My paycheck was needed for our household income. In the end, despite all the reasons I offered Mrs. Martinez about why college was not an option for me, she continued to persuade me, and she even made visits to my house to talk to my parents. With Mrs. Martinez's support along the way, I eventually graduated with an undergraduate degree in industrial distribution. Graduating college took me well over the 4 years it took most students, but I did graduate. I began making enough money to save a down payment on a house for my parents. I never would have been able to do it without Mrs. Martinez's guidance. Thank you, Mrs. Martinez, for guiding me to my greatest potential. Maria Benavides, Systems Analyst. Questions for discussion. Number 1, name 3 things you like most when you look in the mirror. So Dr. Saenz's answers are, number 1, the shape of my bald head. Number 2, my gray hair when I'm not bald. The fact that I even have a full head of hair at this stage in the game is a minor miracle. Number 3, my dark skin. Number 2, would you rather give up donuts or M&Ms for the rest of your life? Easy, he says, donuts. Number 3, name a food, meal, candy, or dessert that you associate with a nurturing relationship. The smell of cinnamon reminds me of the cookies my grandmother baked for my siblings and me when we stayed with her during the summer. Did you play sports in high school? What is your favorite sport and who is your favorite athlete? I played football in junior high and I ran track and cross country in high school. No special awards, but I did once narrowly lose to a guy that several years later went on to the Olympic trials. I'm pretty sure he was sick the day I raced him. My favorite sport to watch is college football. My favorite sport to play is basketball. My favorite athlete is David Robinson, who played center for the San Antonio Spurs from 1989 to 2003. Professional athletes with a combination of his exceptional athletic ability and personal character are rare. Number 5, which is harder for you, consistently healthy eating or consistent exercise? I work out 6 days a week fairly consistently, so I would say consistent healthy eating is harder. Once I got past the first 2 weeks of cutting the garbage, for example, sugar, flour, simple carbohydrates, etc., out of my diet, the cravings decreased and my appetite began to change. I give myself 3 throwaway meals a week, as much of whatever I want, fast food, pizza, whatever. If I'm not careful though, I conveniently lose track of where I'm at in my weekly count of throwaway meals. Number 6, list 1 small change you can make in each area: nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Nutrition, decrease caffeine intake from 2 cups to 1 cup per day. Exercise, doing well here, no real change needed. Sleep, quit taking my laptop and iPhone into the bedroom at night. Number 7, which most negatively impacts your performance on campus? Poor nutrition, lack of exercise, or poor sleep? And that is the end of Chapter 2.